there and welcome back to another Ms. Marvel review. And today we're going to be talking about the latest episode to drop, Time and Again, which picks up right from that massive cliffhanger where Kamala finds herself in the past, witnessing her family's escape during the partition of India and Pakistan, after her battle with the ClanDestines activated the bangle. And so, this was the episode I think most of us were waiting for. The episode where we start to get a lot of the answers to the questions the show's posed. And honestly, there were a few unexpected twists and turns this episode, and not all of them good, I think. But we'll get to that soon. For now, let's jump into the episode. So we start off the episode with a little intro in the form of an old-timey newsreel type thing that sort of introduces the partition and sets up the audience for the first half of the episode, which almost completely focuses on the life of Aisha, before and during the partition of India. And I really liked that Disney gave a bit more detail on how awful these events were. And obviously, being Disney, they can't give the full horrific scope of what actually happened because, yeah, that's a very unrealistic wish for Disney to go into those things, because this isn't a documentary. People can get the idea. But they still did give a little bit of an overview. Bloody trains, torched homes, mass migrations, violence, fleeing for their lives. It sets up a pretty bleak image of what we should expect from these early scenes, and it puts you on guard right away. Basically the episode warning you, this part doesn't have a happy ending. Sorry. And so, we then cut to 1942 in British-occupied India, where Aisha's running for her life after having escaped the collapse of the dig site she was at with the other ClanDestines. And as she runs, she notices there's a soldier hot on her tail, whom she promptly kills, so guess she wasn't in any danger there. Also, I figured if they're super strong, are they like superhumans? How was she not outrunning this man who's also holding a rifle then? Anyway, we're then introduced to her romantic interest, Hassan, who's busy in his village campaigning for Indian independence and unity. And then we get the classic banter to lovers trope, where Hassan introduces himself and Aisha shuts him down hard, but sticks around long enough to let him slowly romance her hard exterior with poetry and food. Which clearly works as we then cut to a new scene and they're seemingly married with a baby on the way. Jeez, Hassan knows what he's about. We then see little Sana as a baby being sung to by her mother, with her father watching on happily. So yeah, just a really wholesome set of scenes, which is designed to make you want to cry when you see what happens to this nice young family. As in the very next scene, it's partition time. And this has set the once peaceful town against each other, and we learn that Aisha and her family have become social outcasts as they're Muslim. And thus, it seems like they're going to have to leave to ensure the safety of their family. And yeah, this whole scene's just depressing. And then this is followed up with a confrontation by Crazy Eyes, who's hunted Aisha down and is now threatening her and her family so she'll open the rift to the Noor dimension. So yeah, guess the last 5 years were rough for her. She seemed very nice in the dig site scene. But yeah, the next day, Aisha puts her foot down and says, no, time to go. And so off the family goes. And yeah, just more of that crushing depression as Hassan's forced to leave the only home he's ever known and journey off into an uncertain future for his family. And I'll be honest, I didn't expect to have all these feels when they first released episode 1. But I do enjoy how they're touching on actual historical events in the show. Sort of spotlighting a massive historical event that doesn't get enough attention outside of the groups that experienced it. She also gives Sana the bangle and tells her it's going to keep her safe. So yeah, it was very clear at this point that she was about to get straight up murdered very, very soon. And then they have an emotional scene where she makes Hassan promise to ensure that Sana gets on the train and reveals that she has magical powers. So yeah, death flags, they couldn't get any more obvious. And she makes it about 30 seconds before getting instantly knifed by her old friend. And then Sana gets separated from her father, just like in the family story, and starts calling out for her parents whilst crying. Damn, that little kid is cute. How do they manage to make these little kids cry like this for the camera? Actually, you know what, on second thought, I'm not sure I want to know. Poor kid. And then through the power of the plot, Aisha somehow remote activates the bangle and summons Kamala to the past. Which, you know, okay, sure, why not? And so, Kamala is taken into the past after being attacked by crazy enemies, watching a mentor get murdered, and seeing other members of the ClanDestines get killed as well, before being summoned into one of the most traumatic moments in her cultural and family history, having to witness the awful reality of partition, before stumbling across the dying body of her great-grandmother and having to comfort her as she passes away, before then going to have to find her grandmother, who's just a small child at this point, so that would be crazy regardless of all the other traumatic shit she's gone through, before having to lead her back to her great-grandfather, just like in the story. This kid needs therapy. Also, it is very crazy to me that they took the risk of having Kamala, the main protagonist of the show, not appear in this episode, at least until about halfway through. And honestly, I'm still not sure about it. I really liked all the family history stuff, but I also think that this episode builds up all these cool reveals and then hardly does anything with them. She hardly uses this newfound knowledge, and the story ends so abruptly and then really just shifts focus at the end. So yeah, I feel like they had this really cool opening half, and then the ending feels rushed and doesn't do it justice. But yeah, Kamala makes the Trail of Stars that leads Sana back to her father and saves the family lineage. So yeah, time loop shenanigans. And after realizing this, she gets blasted back to the present, and it turns out the veil's been pierced to the newer dimension and a gate's been opened. But before we get to see any of this cool stuff, we cut back to Sana's place where Munib is freaking out that Kamala's not answering her phone. And so one of the cousins tells her she can just log into her account on the family plan and use the Find My Phone feature. And honestly, coming into it, I was expecting to be pissed that this scene was taking me away from the action, but all these sequences with the family are just so unexpectedly funny. Like, I never really know what's going to happen, but whatever it is, it's just so relatable, so true to life. And honestly, the mum's turned into one of my favourite characters. 2 iconic lines in one scene. She's the real MVP here. And so here we cut back to our villains who are about to go home with the henchmen approaching the rift first and immediately just dying. Okay, guess she meant nothing. And at first I thought maybe that's just what happens when they go through the rift. They lose a human body as it's a dimension of light, but like the main villain looked pretty shocked, so I'm guessing it wasn't supposed to go down like that. She dared. Kamala and Red Dagger evacuate the random citizens, whilst Crazy Eyes has a really unexpected and honestly kind of rushed and unearned change of heart, sacrificing her life to close the rift and transferring mystical powers into Kamran after getting guilted by Kamala for abandoning him and murdering Aisha. Yeah, this felt like a finale moment. Because now the villains, I guess they're just dead now. We've had the revelation about Aisha. We have the family reunite and learn that Kamala has powers, and that Aisha wasn't some family abandoning monster like the community seems to believe. And Muniba also finds out that Kamala's Nightlight, and I loved how proud and impressed she looked. Despite previously saying that whoever her mother is should be ashamed, because it's so true. Her parents should be ashamed, unless it's my kid, because that means my child's special. But anyway, she says goodbye to Kareem, and he hints that he'll appear in future MCU installments, so that'll be fun, and I'm actually curious to see where he pops up again and which characters he'll interact with. I doubt he's going to be a Ms. Marvel exclusive. And then yeah, we have what really did feel like a final scene for the season if ever I saw one, where Sana shows Kamala pictures of Muniba when she was a teenager, and reveals that she ran away when she was 17 to follow the Bon Jovi tour. And then all the mothers and daughters reconcile and learn that they needed to communicate their needs better, and they cry and they hug, and it's all good. And it really did feel like this was the ending. The loose endings are tied up, and those that aren't feel like they naturally lead into a season 2 or something like that. But then we head back to America and we see Bruno and Kamran of all people interacting as Kamran reveals that he needs help and that he has powers now, that he's pretty sure his mum's going to come back for him soon, awkward, and that he legit thought Bruno was called Brian. And then the two begin the process of bonding about being left behind by their parents before the Department of Damage Control sends a drone that looks like it was just going to straight up murder them. And it actually blows up his shop downstairs, so that's very nice of them. Good thing nobody was down there, shit. And so now it seems like the only real reasonable conclusion is that the real villain all along is going to be the Department of Damage Control. And probably in particular, that racist lady who stormed the mosque, literally moments after being told to be culturally sensitive by a superior. I kind of figured they'd be a minor villain. And this is a little out of left field. Feels rushed. It just feels like they got rid of the ClanDestines so suddenly as well. Plus, I hope they don't try to do a villain Kamran twist where he's salty his mum died and doesn't believe that she sacrificed herself. That would be just really lazy writing if I'm honest. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I hope the finale flows with the rest of the season, but right now, I'm a bit worried. But anyway, with all that being said, that's the end of the episode, and I would like to say that these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode? Like it? Hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.